So the first player I want to show you guys today is Carlo Hoffs. He is a Danish player. He's only 20 years old. He's only valued at 750k and only on 1,800 a week. And his stats, like, he's not going to be world class. He'll be a very good player for like the average Prem team. And if you look at him even now, at 20 years old, his physicals are pretty good. He could improve on his jump and reach and stuff, but he's not exactly a tall bloke. So maybe that's why he could improve his strength maybe, but overall he's some pretty good, you know, he's a fit enough player. If you look at his mentals as well, most of them we're looking at like 11, 12 minimum, other than obviously leadership, but that only matters if you want him to become a captain. Positioning and work rate is probably the lower ones that could be improved. But he is only 20 again, and again looking at his technical abilities, there's a few here and there that could be bad, but I think a lot of people tend to play of like just say inside forward, so tackling and things like that and your marking isn't necessarily the most important thing. He's quite a versatile player. He can play right wing and left wing accomplished. He's also very good on both wide midfield positions. Could do the job at a centre attacking mid and is a natural up front as well. Overall, yeah, really good cheap player. Let's see how much he would cost. I don't think he would cost very much. So if we just suggest terms. So the suggested terms was 2.6 to 30, so you could offer, just say what, 3 million? Let's just say that. And you could probably get him for 3 million. So they don't want to give an immediate decision, but you probably could get him for 3 million, which is a bargain to be honest. But the second player, and this is in no order, is going to be Paar. Now not many people over the years have seen of him. He is 23 now, so he's been around a little bit. He's still very young still. And he's a very good all-round player again. It's very similar to Carlo Hoffs in the positions and things like that. His stats aren't quite up to scratch as Carlo Hoffs, but he is still a very good player. So for me, this would be very good. His finishing could be improved. Long shots aren't that bad, really. And overall, he'll do the job. Like he's got very good very good ability. He could play as a centre attacking mid as well. Bearing in mind his value is only 150k a week and the wage is 900. That is because of the league he plays in. He plays in the Irish division. He's only got 4 months of his contract left as well, so that will probably pay in part to that. You can actually sign him on a free, so that's pretty good there. So let's have a quick look at how much he would request. Bearing in mind I am at the moment managing Liverpool, but that's more just so I can attract pretty much any player. So he would want 10, but you could probably get that down to reckon 7. Take off the yearly increase. I reckon you could keep haggling maybe 7.5 at most. I reckon you could get him for players of his caliber. He's pretty sound. So there you go, 8,000 a week for a player of this ability. He's not going to be a world beater. He's not going to be a very good player, but he's going to be able to do the job. Probably have a little bit of potential as well. Now the next guy in this list is a player that I have personally found a couple of years ago when he was 17. And I've searched him every year on FM and I always seem to want to buy him, and he seems to be improving as well. Again, it's another Copenhagen player. He is Jonas Wind, or I think that's pronounced a Wind. I think it's Wind. I call him Wind. He's only on £2,500 a week and his value is at 1.4 million. Very, very good stats. All his physicals apart from acceleration is pretty good, but at the age of 20 he can massively improve that. A very tall player as well, 6'3", so he's got strength to go along with his pace and things, and his mentals are very good as well. Lowest one is positioning, but other than that, you know, his leadership's not majorly important. Bravery and aggression are just off 1 off 10. Again, at 20 years old can massively improve, and his technicals are probably his lowest abilities, but I feel his most important ones. So the most common forward position is like an advanced forward. All the important ones are there. I know a lot of people play for pressing forward now as well. Again, he's there. He could not the best in other situations for that position, but he can play in the number 10 role. Pretty good as well. He's pretty decent for that position. I think he's a bargain. I don't actually know how much you can sign him for now. It used to be very cheap. Doesn't seem to have a release clause. So let's suggest terms. Again, 3.6 million with a 30% sell on. Not many people want that, so if you were to redo the offer and take that off, you could probably get him for about 3.5 to 4 million, I'd suggest. Again, a bargain for a player of that caliber. He has a bit of potential as well, and I think he would become a pretty decent player in a few years to come. The next player is another youngster. He's 18 in this year's say. I found him last year. Again, I don't think I've seen anyone go on about this guy, but I think he's pretty good. He's probably not as strong as he was last year, but still, I feel he can do the job. And that is Mohammed Kudus for, I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that, as anyone who watches my channels know I cannot pronounce names. They are a Danish team, I believe. Not 100% on that, but he's can play number 10, can play centre mid as well, and naturally he can also play defensive mid or on the wide midfield areas. He's a pretty good player, I feel. He's very cheap, only worth £500,000, just over £1,000 wages. He's a very pacey player, quite strong for a player considering he's only 5'9". His technicals probably do need improving slightly compared to the rest of him, but again, he's a teenager, he's 18. I feel he could do a very good job. So if you were to play him as just say an attacking midfielder, other than his long shots and his decision making, he's a very good player, but at 18 those are the things that can be improved. If you wanted to play him at centre mid, his natural position is a Mazzella. He could improve on that a lot. I probably wouldn't play him as a Mazzella myself, but again, he is a very good and cheap player. He won't cost you a lot if you put a bid in. We will suggest a term 40% with 3.9, probably I'd say tops of £5 million with about the 40%. That's a very good cheap player to buy. By all means, these are not wonder kids or anything like that. I just think they are sort of bargains, as the title suggests. For players and teams that don't want to spend too much money or don't have much money to spend, but want a currently good player that does have a little bit of potential, or players that are just underneath the level of what you'd expect but have a nice bit of potential. This next player is completely different to the other ones I've been showing you. They've been quite young. I'm not saying he's old by any means, but he's on the older side. He's 28, and that is Billiat. I'm not sure if it's pronounced that way, but that's what I'm going with. He's from Zimbabwe. He's on a bit more wages than the usual one, but still very cheap, 10,500. He's only worth 425. And the reason I go for him is that I've had him in previous saves, signed him very cheaply, and he plays amazing as a number 10 role. You can either play him as an advanced playmaker. His stats have probably decreased a little bit from the last game. He's very similar to Carlo Hoffs in the sense of he's got quite a lot of levels that are sort of 12 and above. His mentals, I feel like the important ones are okay. His anticipation could improve. Decision making is not at best, but it can improve it. But overall, he's a very good passer of the ball, and he's just a very good player. The best way to describe it is just to get him out and play. He can this year play on the wing now naturally as well, which I don't think he could before. And again, he would be a pretty good player on the wing. I feel he'd probably get tired fairly easy, but he is a fast, rapid player and some good technical abilities to go with it. Not for everyone, but I think he is an absolute bargain. I'm not sure how much he can cost now. Normally very cheap. Again, £1 million probably get less than that. Let's see if we can get 750 or even 500, see what we can get there. Either way, it's an absolute steal. There you go, £750,000, absolute bargain. The next player is a nice little gem that I've come across in this year's save. I've never heard of him before. Being 16 years, it's probably his first year in the game. He's worth 2.1 million already, on just under £6,500 a week already. He does play for Regatas Vasco da Gama. He's Brazilian, probably going to be a wonder kid. We all love a Brazilian wonder kid. Bearing in mind, this guy is 16 years old. He's a natural on both wings, a natural up front, can play in the number 10, and even on the right wide midfield. Not great, but you could learn. Looking at these stats, his physicals are incredible. His lowest stats are his balance and his strength at 11. He's a fairly tall guy for his age as well, so that will improve no doubt. And his mentals, again, amazing, all well above 10, other than his aggression, which is on 10, and his positioning, which is on 5. That shouldn't hamper him too much overall, being 16, as he can improve that. His worst stats, I'd probably say, are his technical ability, but again, thrown in his age, easily changeable with the good enough training facilities. And if you look at the ones that are really bad, if you look at what his positions would be, tackling, not that important for what he does. Marking, not the most important. Long throws, not important. Free kick taking, not important. Crossing and corners could be, depending if you want him to be just an actual winger, then his crossing would be an issue. But again, 10 out of 20, that's not bad for his age. Spirited personality as well. I think he has a release clause of 45 million, but you normally can get him for about 15 million, or at least I've managed to in some of my saves. So there you go, take that off, you'd probably pay about 20 mil for him. He's more on the process side of the ones I've shown you, but bear in mind, 16 years old, can get homegrown in the club and nation that you decide to buy him for. Very good first team player in most Premier League quality teams already, and he's again an absolute steal for what he is. Finishing off this first episode of Bargains is another Brazilian wonder kid. Rania, I think that's how you pronounce it. He's 17 years old, on higher wages than the last one, but his value is less. He's a centre attacking mid and a very good player. He's not quite as good as the last one, even though he is a year older, but he's got all of that potential to work for. Bear in mind he's 17, decent personality. His physicals are very good. Obviously his jumping and his natural fitness could be improved. Mostly his natural fitness is the only problem, being a, you know, he won't be able to run around for a whole 90 minutes probably at the moment, but it is close to 10. I think 10 is normally the lowest you want to go for a lot of players in a lot of positions. He's got less than 2 years on his contract left as well. Mentals are pretty good as well, most averaging about 11 to 12 I think. Same with his technicals, there's a couple here and there that could go, but again, like the last player, the ones that aren't high aren't necessarily that important. Very good player. You could probably throw him into a low Premier League team at the moment, but probably not advisable. He's more one for the future, and a few years you will see him. A few people have come up across this guy already in last year's game. A lot pricier, I think, in the last year's game. I'm not actually sure how much he costs this year, as I've not got him. He has a release clause of 63 million, but I imagine you can get him for a lot less. 31 with that, so he's quite pricey compared to the others. Bearing in mind I've just managed to lower that down to 16 with 50, so I reckon you could get him for about 20 with nothing on, but I can't change that at the moment. But again, he's more a player for the future, but if you have the right youth facilities and training facilities, he will flourish into a very good player.